6th, 2026 meeting of the LaGrange County Redevelopment Commission. And do you need to take official roll call, Kurt?
Nope, I've got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I think our first order of business is reorganization. I have served as the president in the past. If you want me to continue in that role, I'm reluctantly willing. I'll do that. So otherwise, we'll take any nominations for that position.
I'll make a motion that you stay as the
Second.
Are there any further nominations?
Who seconded it? Just, thank you. Sorry.
All right, hearing no further nominations, we will close nominations and call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we also need a vice president and secretary. Jennifer was the secretary before, but she's no longer on the board. Were you the vice before, Bob? Okay. Is there anybody, before we make nominations, anybody willing to be secretary?
The secretary just tells me what to do with the minutes, so.
Yeah. Kurt does most of the legwork on the secretary. It's a nice title.
Nobody else will do it, I'll do it.
Tom will do it,
I'll
okay.
do it.
All right. Would anybody like to make nominations for vice president? And we take them both at once, Kurt?
Yeah, you do them all. And let's add, if you would, Kathy as the treasurer.
And Kathy is the
You can have
treasurer.
a different treasurer, but
Okay.
we always recommend the auditor be the treasurer.
So I'll make a motion to make
Bob,
Bob as vice president, Tom as the secretary, and Kathy as the treasurer.
okay.
Second.
We will close nominations and call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We have our slate. So we will continue on the agenda. The minutes from the, what was it? Last time we met was quite a while ago. I can't remember the date.
July. Yeah.
July.
All right.
Those were distributed, yep, by email. And unless anybody has any additions or corrections, I would entertain a motion to approve those.
make a motion to approve.
Bob,
Second.
Jim, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Okay, pass the minutes. And then our main item for business today is consideration. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, forgot. I would like to pause for a moment. Two long-serving members on this board in the past have passed away recently. Charlie Ashcraft and George Bachman. Both were very committed public servants and just great guys to know for that matter too. So I would like to take a short moment of silence in honor of their service. Thank you. All right, thanks for the reminder, Bob. Now we'll move on to the main item of business, and that is consideration of contributions of some TIF funds towards the expansion of the sewer plant that serves the Lima TIF district. Kurt has been working diligently with various groups of lawyers for representing various entities involved in this process. So Kurt, I guess you want to give us a brief overview of the agreement?
Yeah, I will, and of course, you hit me with all the questions you want. Basically, and if you don't have it in front of you, of course, I have documents here for you. You're welcome to grab mine and look at them. I'm just actually looking at my old red line version. But first, the balance that Kathy gave us graciously in this current TIF, I did not know, is $2,657,660.13. So you have quite a bit in there, which is good. I believe this TIF district runs out at 29, if I'm not mistaken.
I think 28 is the last collection.
Last collection date. So, this proposed commitment is for $1,250,000. And long story short, which like I said, I'll let you guys ask more questions. We discussed this in the past. We had Casey, Irwin.
We all want to hear you, Kurt.
Yeah, great. Okay. And
So let me preface a little bit
go
of
for
that with the so part of the ask originally a few years ago, they were getting some bond money that kind of fell through. So they're doing a lot of, and one of my major concerns a few years ago was the fact that they were hooking up a lot of residential customers to that sewer plant, which then is used up the capacity, which has left little capacity to expand into commercial commercial businesses through the TIF district, where we are kind of responsible for. So a meeting we had a year or two ago, Peter actually brought up the fact of let's allocate some reservation of the plant if we're going to put money towards it, so that it's not completely also used up again by residential, because that's not what we're allowed to spend money on. So that kind of prefaced this whole thing with the reservation capacities that are in the contract. And clarify for me, is there any timeline that reservation capacity runs out?
No, that was one of the things that I, with your help, and negotiated with them because of the fact that I know our TIF district runs out. And the thought is, if we're going to buy capacity, we don't want to be limited by a certain time period for that capacity, even though our district will expire soon. And so that was a tough point that we had to maintain and address. And they were eventually, after we got through all the other issues, willing to concede that there's no timeline. We had talked about, and Casey Irwin, your engineer who reviewed this, had talked about different years, 15, 20, even 40. And in the end, the draft that they've approved, not formally, but through their lawyers and through Ice Miller and et cetera, is there's no deadline on it. It's really just amount of the percentages and that. So no deadline. So it's good.
Yeah,
That part's good.
so the one thing that I saw in there that I wasn't super happy with, but I understand, and is the fact that we're reserving capacity of 20,000 to be used strictly for commercial. And then the other 55 can be used in any capacity, but it has to be utilized with construction in that TIF district.
That's correct. And to help understand why that is in there, without getting into the weeds too far, there's this concept of private use. And when you're doing a bond financing, which is what they are doing through SRF, they have limits on how much they can commit to private use. Even though we're a public entity, the use ultimately is private. And so to restrict it to a certain amount of customers, they're limited by a certain percentage. And we pushed the envelope on that to 27% of the 20% that we're reserving, 20% of the capacity, which is 75,000 gallons per day. 27% of that is it's the max we could reserve to just C&I customers. Now, even though we have, at least in the draft, allowed ourselves to make 73% of that capacity available to all users, and we had to include the town of Howe in there to meet their private use test, which is why the shaded color includes the town of Howe and the RDC's TIF does not. Those additional houses allow them to expand that to 27%, which is where we got the 20,000 gallons per day. Because we're allowing the entire shaded area, which includes the town of Howe, that's not in our district, to be available to tap into this sewer plant. That makes it not a private use, and it doesn't violate our private use restrictions. So the other thing we did to add to try to protect against losing capacity is they've got to use the shaded area 55,000 gallons first before they can tap into our 20,000 gallons. So we're the very last. And then the final piece that we added, which I think was a difficult ask, but we were able to get, is they can't spend our money until they've spent all their money first. And so if, in fact, whatever as the construction goes, if it's less expensive, we will get back the portion that it's basically they got to use theirs before they use ours. But all these formulas still stay the same, and they're all designed to allow them to do this bond tax exempt financing and not violate the private use limitations, which we could get into great detail. But that's why. Doesn't mean it's a good thing, but it's why. And I'm confident that it's as good as we're going to get at this point, having no end date, having 20%, 27% committed to C&I within the TIF, allowing the remaining 73%, which is 55,000 gallons for all users, knowing that there's not a lot of residential in that area, but there clearly could be. A housing development could come along and it could eat up some of that 55,000. But they've got to eat that up before they eat up our 20,000. And then having our money spent last. I think those protections give you some peace, whether you like it or not, and you agree with the document and you agree with the concept. That's a different issue. But if you're going to do it, I think it's as good a deal as we're ever going to get on that end. It's a philosophical issue whether or not you want to contribute to the plant, which ultimately clearly is going to service areas outside of our district. So
Do we know, or is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Do we know, or is it relevant here, the reason that the original bond fell through?
It was a timing thing and it wasn't anything.
Just
legal or
clerical
anything.
as much as anything?
I think honestly, I think the state ran out of giving away the money.
I think you're right. I think too, I don't know for sure, but I know some of the others that we've done over the years in other parts of the county were funded through RDA, which was a federal funded project. And I think they've lost the ability to get that money. So this is, they're crunched a little more than what they have been in the past.
To determine when it's used up, it's basically if it's on a certain rate tariff that they have, and if it's in the geographic area.
Correct.
There's no, that's the only, and then it's going to be metered.
Well, now you're getting into the mechanics. of it.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Beyond my
That's
capacity.
how I read it.
Okay,
Yeah.
That if
Yeah,
they
it's supposed
were
to be
using
metered, but
water, which is how they typically
Yeah.
charge for the
that they
sewer,
would put a meter.
That's how I.
yeah, and that's their language, just so you know. So I'm.
That's how I
guessing.
read it. I just want to make.
I
sure
had,
it
by the
was-
way, I had Casey Irwin take a look at this,
Okay.
and I want to make sure you hear this. He said he has not looked at the final plans. If you want him to look at the final plans, he will. He did not want to do it without your permission because, you know, it takes time and money to do it. But he did review it generally and said that his words were basically that it's consistent with what his expectations were when he did his 2024 evaluation. And again in 25 when he ran the capacity reservation numbers for you, which is what I've used.
So for you guys, we
Yeah.
hired DLZ to actually do an analysis on what we were talking about last year. It was probably early last year.
Yeah.
So that is kind of the basis of where the numbers are coming from as far as.
Believe it or not, it was July of 24.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we've got 20,000 gallons reserved for us in that TIF district
For commercial use only.
for commercial use. If that expands beyond that, how does that affect this?
I mean, if they have more gallons than what's available, it's fine. We can still use them. It's just worst case scenario, they can't sell and use up this capacity without violating our agreement because they need our permission to do so.
So a floor limit, but no top limit. A floor limit for us,
It
but
is.
no top limit.
Yeah.
Okay.
The top
And we
one would
really
just be the
control
plant's
not only the
capacity.
20,000, but the 55,000. It's just the 55 has to be made available to any user.
Gotcha. But it doesn't limit us.
It's probably a good problem.
That's a good point. Right.
They'll be one to expand again if we get there.
No, it's, it really does come down to, as far as a buying capacity and the deal that we cut, it's good if you get beyond the original issue of whether or not you think philosophically it's good to finance an outside user or an outside, you know, your buying capacity is what you're doing. Is that a good use of TIF money? That's ultimately your question.
Which we've done.
TIF money's opening up opportunity to continue on exactly what as a TIF district we want to do and as a county, the long range plan gears at. I mean, everything points to this being a very positive thing.
Speaking from an economic development perspective, every time somebody comes in, they want to know the infrastructure that's available to use now, not
Mhm.
what you can build 3 or 4 years from now. So the fact that we get the capacity now and it's there, when somebody comes in, that puts us in a really good position to say, build it tomorrow and we can hook you up the day after that.
Yeah. I know that from the commissioner's perspective, we asked them what their opinion was of this, and they were not opposed to it as long as you were good stewards of the money for the fire service needs up in that area. And so I just share that with you. And Peter, of course, if you want to elaborate, you can, but I think that was the message I got was,
Yeah.
okay, they're fine with it as long as you're happy with the arrangement and the document, and they'll likely approve the claims that go through. There's still work to be done. If you do approve this, we have to come up with reasonable assurances as to how this money is going to get transferred to the Bank of New York for SRF, and how that money is going to be spent when it comes to spending it. And I have a desire to probably involve, if you're willing, clearly Kathy's office is going to need to be involved, but probably the engineer to a certain extent, because I guess I want to know before we let them write a check out of the Bank of New York of your money that it's actually built. It's built according to this, that the engine, because they're going to do a lot before they get to your money. So we need to see, I think, that what they're doing is consistent with the document. It's consistent with the plans. I mean, the engineering drawings aren't attached. This is an exhibit, but they're lengthy, of course. And we don't want to build them on, some 14-mile line to, some other community, Sturgis, for instance, and using our money to do that. We need somebody to tell us that's more mechanical than me, that's not happening as we go along in this process. And so if you do approve it, I would like you to give me authority to get Casey involved in that eventually, so that we get assurances before they write a check out of our money that's going to be held by the Bank of New York for this project, and not something that's not currently planned that you haven't thought about or approved. Because the whole idea is this is supposed to be for the treatment plant, not for extending lines to some other community or whatever else they might do. I don't believe they'll do that, but we're not all here forever, and they're not either. And so we need to hold their feet to the fire, I think.
Well, part of the next level of expansion that they're planning is to run a line all the way out to Twin Mills Campground.
Okay, well, there you go.
So there are other things that I don't believe are supposed to be in this document, and doesn't look like they're in this document. So there's other expenditures that are going to happen, but I believe it to be exclusively separate from this document.
Then that makes it even more important that we
Right.
pay attention as a group, me and an engineer, as to what they're doing with our money, and get assurances before they let go of it. They being the Bank of New York, which is where it ends up at. So there's a lot of moving parts to all this, but if you approve the concept, one of the questions for Kathy is the money already appropriated, or do we have to appropriate? What's the theory? I think you appropriated all their money, but
It's on every
that's what this is.
say,
Show me.
total appropriation is right there, so this is what's.
Yeah, okay, so you got 2.5, almost 2.5 appropriated, so it's available. But, yeah, and I don't know when they'll want the money transferred, but I know their plan is to close on the 15th of March, which is why we had this meeting today. And from what I see in the documents I read, they will not be able to close if this document isn't signed by them. Not that that's a threat, that's
This
just
feels
why we're stuck
familiar.
here today.
This feels familiar.
Yeah, it does. Doesn't it?
I keep replaying this.
We keep having that happen. I don't know why.
So this is 1.5,
1.25.
1.25, which leaves us 1.25 for other projects at this
Mhm.
point
Plus, as Bob said, you got a couple more draws coming.
for
Should have at
4
least
years.
2 more years, but I think it might run out in 27 collection.
Well, I don't know if I can answer that today. I don't know if I brought enough
Probably
information.
not a huge question right
Do we know what
now.
the,
The next meeting, let's see where we're at.
Yeah.
do we know what
I
the
didn't
draw
bring-
is?
Brings
On-
in
on-
400 a year,
Is
doesn't
it
it?
400?
Yeah, I didn't bring. Sorry about that.
So what else is impeding growth in the TIF district?
Impeding growth.
The economy.
Economy.
But
If you had a big water user, we've talked about in the past, there'd be some issues with water, depending on how
You know,
big the
House
user
still doesn't
was.
have water.
Mhm.
You know, there's businesses in Howe with no water. They're putting a car wash in Howe. And I assume
Is
they're
that what that
running
is?
that off the well. I don't know.
Wow, that's a lot of water coming
It
from a
is.
well.
There's also, we've struggled with gas capacity up there before, although I don't know that's an issue that we can solve.
Yeah.
You know, there still is is a need for water and
Mhm.
Howe. And the school that they sold in Howe doesn't have a well on the property anymore either.
They don't.
sold the property that had the well on it to a private individual.
I thought they wiggled back out of that. No?
That was
So
a
the
Interesting
school
move.
conceded $60,000 in the closing for them to put a well.
Hmm.
Not sure if all that was legal or not, but it's a good discussion.
Well, I mean, yeah, you do have the ability to impact that area
Yeah.
with water if you want.
Yeah, because there was chat at one time about putting a tower in how, so we could make a loop, because that was gonna,
I don't know what it costs, but you could do it.
Well, there was,
The tower and the loop were two separate projects even, I think.
correct, but yeah,
Mhm.
that was the idea, so
Yeah.
that we could have
One or
the
the
flow.
other.
One or the other, but
That was a long time ago, that was
That
back
was.
with XOS.
How military can't use their tower.
right.
So
Can't.
it's
You got to come down.
too
or
many
something.
lead pipes and age. And
Yeah.
Is it something that could be revamped though?
No, but they had gotten some pricing on putting a new tower up,
Okay.
and it's sadly much cheaper for them to put a new tower up
Oh.
than it is for us to put a new tower up.
Anything that's
But
not
they don't
government.
have the money to put the tower up and then give it to somebody else to manage.
Yeah.
So unfortunately.
Any other questions or comments or concerns about the agreement?
Is there a date that the capacity will be available?
I don't know that, Tom. I'm sorry. I don't know how long it's going to take. I think they bid it out already, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm guessing this is I mean, the capacity is there now. It's just that they
So
need it.
Yeah, so a little more history. What's gonna happen is they wanna hook up their, I believe, phase 3, which is gonna encompass a lot more residential properties hooking up into it, which is gonna use the rest, because right now you could hook up probably quite a few commercial clients to it right now. And so by the time they want to expand it, and then when they hook all those other in phase 3 up, it's gonna actually use the capacity that's currently there and get them to like, it was gonna be like 90% capacity. And so this is kind of going to be a pre-capacity expansion. And that's probably why they're willing to give us as much as they are, because it's going to be about a 200,000 gallon per day expansion on top of what's already there. So what the capacity is there right now, I guess is my point. Once they add phase 3, the capacity will be pretty much gone. But this is going to happen prior to connecting phase 3, as I understand it.
Which really puts us in a pretty good position because all that capacity will essentially be available.
Yeah, there'll be probably 200,000 gallons available
Right.
capacity right when they first get it built.
Right.
That's not probably going to be allocated. to
So anything that goes in the next few years would have plenty of capacity to use.
Yeah, and actually, Bob is right. It says in here in this old report from Casey, of course, it's 2 years old now, that 200,000 gallons per day is what they were looking to obtain with their new expansion. So you're right. Yeah, that's exactly what it says. Which is how we got to the what percent should we try to get, which is where we got to the
Yeah,
75.
Yeah, that's also part of the numbers Casey was using
Yeah.
to come up with that
Mhm.
formula too. So.
Yep.
And I believe there's going to be a building built just north of the sewer plant in the next 12 to 18 months.
On the same side of it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Field there to the north. To the best of my knowledge.
Commercial building.
Yes.
That's good for us.
The current company in Owl's new facility, moving out of Owl. Because there's no water there.
So if it was our desire to approve this, what would
Yeah,
specifically need to
really,
occur?
just a motion to, if and when you want to do it, we'd be looking for a motion to approve the capacity reservation agreement. I'll attach it as an exhibit, the final one. And then I've got 3 originals for everybody to sign if you're willing to do that. And yeah, of course, we need 4 votes. You need 4 votes to pass it. So you need a motion, a second, and a vote, and you might want to do it by roll call if you're concerned about anything. Otherwise, I stand ready to write.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept the capacity reservation agreement and that we give Kurt and the engineers also the opportunity to review as needed. Do we need to be more specific on that?
Oh, I think that's great.
I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on that motion? Concerns, thoughts? Yeah, I don't think we need a roll call vote, so we'll
Okay.
go ahead and call for the voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Okay, unanimous.
Thank you for all your support, everybody, and Bob especially, because he spent a lot of time helping me through some of the difficult subjects that I was struggling with. So thank you. And
Thanks for,
yeah, I
working overtime
think
to get her done.
once again, if
It's a good document. I agree with, you said that it's as good as we're gonna get, even though it's not us that's getting, it's us that's giving. So,
Yeah.
but protecting the value of what the TIF is supposed to be supplying is the most important part. And I think the document meets those requirements. And we have the funds to be able to do that. And I think it's an important expansion to happen. So it makes sense.
So if they would breach contract, we get our money back?
yes, in fact, it's, well, yes. Yeah. Yeah, like
They
I
don't
said,
build it, we get our money back.
right. Don't build it. Yeah,
Plus, if they build it, they use up the capacity elsewhere, then that's breach of contract.
Yep.
Where does that money go if we don't exist or if the TIF doesn't exist anymore?
oh, well, that's a good point. I don't know for sure, but it'll come back here and presumably we'd have to divvy it up among the taxing units pro rata the way we have captured it. I would think that's the safest way, probably.
It'd be a fun calculation.
Yeah, but it's a good point because this could be years and we could all not even be here having this discussion, but at least it's documented now and for somebody else to think that through if that happens.
I would be surprised if it's not built before our TIF ends.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say
I hope
like
so.
Built,
18
yeah,
months.
but it's the capacity thing that I would concern myself about.
No, there were a lot of hard discussions, but there were some good concessions that we got, which I feel much better about than I did when we first started going down this road, believe it or not, 2 years ago. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
this ask is much different than the original form of the ask.
It is very different. Yeah. You're right. So thank you. I'll circulate these documents for you to sign and if you don't mind, there's 3 of them. So we'll keep one, they'll get one. And I think SRF is going to want one to be able to close the plate. I'll pull out the signature page and just put it on the top, but you can be assured I will not swap out anything. I'll just here and you guys can pass it around and Mark, so I know if you have anything else you want to do, it's fine, but just so that you know what I'm looking for at some point before you adjourn is to have the next meeting set at March 27th at 9 a.m. And then we'll have a lot of things to address then that are beyond this. Maybe there'll be something to address with this, but I'm not planning anything.
Yeah, is there a motion to set a meeting for March 27th at, what do we say, 9 a.m.?
So move.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And then whenever, a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, is there any other business before we ask for that?
Has there been any other action process or anything with the residential aspect of that?
I don't think Mark's gotten.
They ran into some issues. They were gonna start on the west end of the property. And when they went, there's some wetlands there. And when they went to file that with the state said, we want you to wait until it's a growing season before we look at it. So that put them back. So now they went to start on the east end.
What's the building? Is that part of that?
They sold that off. That's some industrial development. So I went to start on the east end. And we actually just had a meeting on it yesterday, trying to resolve some sewer issues of how they're going to feed the sewer. Cause they could do gravity to an existing spot up on the on the west end, but on the east end, they got to take a different route to get to the force main to pump it back up. So they're working through that. So I'm not entirely sure we'll have the information we need from them to consider it at the next meeting, but we're still pushing.
So the west end of that property has wetlands on it?
Should be a third one.
At least by the Army Corps of Engineers definition.
No.
It's kind of
I would
weird.
have
'cause
never thought
Problem
that.
is it's too.
And we only signed,
Yeah.
right there's a third.
I suppose that where the wetlands is where they want to
Keep me
put the
straight,
retention
Tom.
pond.
Well, they were going to destroy the wetlands. I mean, they're small little pieces, and usually the state's fine with that. But they got to go through the Army Corps, and then the Army Corps has sent to IDEM, and everybody's got to sign off. And it's just red tape they got to work through. Their consultant says normally that the state takes her word for it, and this time they said no. We want to wait until growing season and see it. So that's where they're at.
Thank you. I think there's a few ways you can.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yes. Thanks, Bob.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Well, thank you all for your patience with me, because I know this project.
Disorganized, so.